Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Yoga in Chatham, New York, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Dasa. Welcome to the show, and welcome to Walk on Wednesday. Walk on Wednesday is a day of the week that we invite someone we feel is sort of special, sort of cool, sort of out of the ordinary, and we just, pick their brain for 5 or 10 minutes and say what's up. And today we have a good friend of mine, Pandit Dasa, who I've known since he wrote his first book called Urban Monk when he was an urban monk, but now he's married. Are you a father?
No, I'm not.
No, okay. It's coming. Give it time. It just comes when you least expect it. You too, Kaustubha. Just wait. It's going to show up one day.
Okay.
Stork.
Sometimes I feel like you are my child, Raghunath. Everyone was saying
that's offensive. That's offensive.
No, it was affectionate. Everyone was saying I was using the father voice yesterday with you. No, Raghunath, that is not a Krishna miracle.
So Pandit is a prolific author and really respected and loved in the Bhakti community. Welcome to the show, Pandit.
Thank you so much, Raghu. It's great to be here, and thank you both for having me here.
And you are in Jersey City, but you're Californian, right?
I mean, I grew up in California, Southern California, Los Angeles, but I've been on the East Coast between New Jersey and Jersey and New York City for 20 plus years now, actually. So
okay,
more
you're one of us.
Yeah.
And but you grew up in America. Even you're Indian. From as we say in the Hare Krishna movement, you have an Indian body. You have an Indian body, it appears, from me checking out your chassis. But you grew up in America.
Yeah, or the Indians would describe me as a coconut, brown on the outside, white on the inside. That's another description that could be pretty fitting.
Coconut, is that politically correct? I call him a
coconut.
I could say that. I don't know. I'll let everybody else decide how they want to address me.
Okay, I think I'll hold on that one, but you could go for it. So Panditji, Panditji and I go way back too, because all his years in the Bhakti Center we served together. But now he's like broken. He lived as a monk for 15 years or so. Getting trained as a monk in India and at the Bhakti Center in New York City.
Pretty impressive. 15 years as a monk.
Not bad.
Like
Look at Raghunath. He's got his hand on his chin.
Lots of temptations in New York City. You really got to lock yourself in the closet.
True. But now he's kind of like taken a lot of the wisdom that he's gained from his training as a monk. He's breaking it out especially into the corporate world. I think that's your field. Would that be right to say it like that? Yeah,
no, completely. So I basically present a secular version of Bhakti wisdom into the corporate environment, because obviously you can't talk about spirituality and religion in those environments. Mm-hmm. But there's so much richness that our tradition has to offer that can benefit people, especially as they're dealing with the stress and anxiety of corporate America. Right. And I guess even more so now that they're working from home. Okay, right. And so recently you've just published a brand new book called Closing the Apps, How to Be Mindful at Work and at Home. So could you just get us started by telling us, what does Closing the Apps refer to in the title? So yeah, as you know, as you saw in the picture there, there's all kinds of things here, like you know, there's things open in our minds, right? We're thinking about our health.
Icons. There's a bunch of
Yeah, like
icons in there.
yeah. So
I
like
have every app open on my phone at every moment, like thousands of apps. So I understand that analogy perfectly.
and you know, Raghu, and can you imagine how many, if you have that many apps open on your phone, just think about how many apps are open in your mind, right? So if everybody can take a moment to think about how many apps do you think are open in your mind? Because I like to compare the mind to one of these, to a smart device, right? The thing is, on a smart device, we can easily close out our apps. You know, you just double click, you see them open, you close them out. But how do we do that for our mind? This is like the ultimate smart device that we were born with. And there are apps open in here from years and years ago, maybe decades ago.
Oh my God.
You know, usually the apps on here are probably a week old or 2 weeks old, maybe used in Uber or Google Maps, but you close it out. But there's stuff open up here from decades ago, stuff that
I've
happened.
got Spotify from 1972 rolling in this mind of mine. I'm still trying to swipe that one up.
And it's a musical from 1972.
I've got musicals apps. Got to swipe up.
So what would be the apps that I might have open in my mind?
Well, I think one thing that everybody's probably thinking about, right? I mean, everybody's always thinking about things like money. Do I have enough of it? How much more do I need? Am I ready for retirement? You know, we're worried about our health. You know, we're worried about our job situations right now, right? We're worried about our relationships. You know, so these are some of the things that we're thinking about constantly.
And so you're saying that we think about these things, but rather than kind of like think about it and then set it aside, like there's a certain stress that kind of remains if we don't consciously close it out?
Or is it that we think about it and don't figure out a plan how to deal with it, and we just leave it open, buzzing around? You know, my relationship, my finances, my workplace.
Yeah, I mean,
are we supposed to close it? Or shouldn't we be worrying about those things?
You know, it's preparing for these things and planning for these things is obviously very good and important. It's just the problem is that we have a lot of stuff on the back burner that's just constantly we're thinking about, like, you know, because our mind has this tendency to think about all the negative stuff from the past. Unfortunately, it spends more time thinking about the negative stuff from the past than the positive stuff. And so that's the kind of, those are the kind of apps that we really need to learn to close out, because they're just like an app that's open on your phone, it drains the battery.
Yeah.
An app that's open in our mind.
I like this analogy. I'm going to steal it. May I? I'll give
Could you let him finish it first, please, then steal it?
So, you know, when we have these apps, the negative apps open from like 5-10 years ago, and they're constantly draining our emotional battery, our mental battery, and then ultimately it's affecting our physical health. So if we can learn to close out those apps, the ones that are, because they're also preventing us from being in the present moment. Like, you know, you could end up going on a vacation, and that app from 10 years ago, the negative one, can open up all of a sudden while you're sitting at the beach. And now you can no longer even enjoy the beach. You're thinking about the horrible thing that happened 10 years ago. And now all this beautiful view and everything else can no longer be focused on because your mind decided to open up this app. It's almost like someone else is controlling your Netflix account. You know, it's like someone else is controlling it, and you don't want to watch that horror movie all the time.
Oh, right. You know, and I think for us spiritual practitioners, like the Wisdom of the Sages listeners, or, you know, people interested in Bhakti yoga and yoga. So then that means also to meditate, right? To bring your mind to spiritual subjects and to meditate on God, or like that. If these apps are open, then we're going to have a hard time doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the more stuff that's open up there, the more space it takes. Right. And then the less space we have for spiritual subjects. Okay. So, you know, how much of our mental space, our mind space, is being taken up by all kinds of stuff that's no longer relevant for our lives, that we're just worrying about things that there's no need to worry about. And then when our mind is filled, our mind can only take on so much. And once it's filled with all this stuff, then the space, we
freak out. We go crazy.
Yeah, we just kind of go, really do, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of people going crazy about the election, which is right up in the air right now. We still don't know the results. Can you give a little advice for people passing through this time of you know, political and social stress?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of the craziest, more circus-like elections that are taking place. And I know right now everyone's really high in anxiety about who's going to be in office and who they want to be in office and who they don't want to be in office. And, you know, one thing I just want to kind of mention is that some things are really out of our control. Actually, most things in our life are out of our control. And the outcome of this election is also one of those things that's completely out of our hand. We should do our part, right? We should do our part. But ultimately, even if the person you really don't want in there is in there, you know, then the thing is that the last thing you want to do is spend hours and days despairing about it, because that's not going to get that person out of office.
Right.
They're still going to be there for another 4 years. So we can either spend days and months complaining about it, you know, despairing about it, getting all stressed and anxious about it, or think that, you know what, whoever's in office doesn't change my ability to wake up, be a good, kind, compassionate, selfless individual.
There you go.
Yeah, nothing stops me from doing that. Whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a president that I don't want, I can still choose to be my best self, be a kind person, be there for others, and continue to focus on that. If we focus on that positive part, it doesn't matter what's happening around us. We can still move on a positive spiritual path in our
And
life.
be a positive influence. Whereas all those, if that app never closes and it's taken over the whole system, then we don't actually rise to our potential to actually help the kind of things that we're concerned with, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And if we can bring our positive self, then, you know, that is a service to the people around us, because everyone's anxious. But if they see us focusing on the positive, we just did service to them, because they'll be like, yeah, let's just focus on being better to each other, being kind to each other. And
I love
that's
that.
great
Good
service.
Harpagu.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it was great.
if people are interested in finding Closing the Apps, where should they go?
So it is available on Amazon as a paperback and Kindle. And the website for the book is called closingtheapps.com.
Easy enough.
Excuse me?
Easy enough.
Yeah, easy. And I put a link also in the chat for those who are here on Zoom. That's closingtheapps.com. And it's available on Amazon for now.
I got to work on that. So when I read this book, I'm going to figure out how to close those apps. It's going to give me some exercises or anything like that.
Yeah, so towards the end of my book, I have a whole chapter on all the mindfulness exercises. There's secular exercises that I teach in corporations when I do my corporate speeches.
Yeah.
So all kinds of breathing exercises, focusing exercises, gratitude, how to feel grateful, how to practice mindfulness in pretty much any setting in your day, during your work, at home. So I give a whole bunch of exercises towards the end, practical things you can do right away.
Cool.
Actually. That's cool. Do you ever like sneak in Krishna? Like, okay, everybody, thank you, Hare Krishna.
I can't do that anymore in a corporate setting, because then I would not get invited back in. I'm tempted to, but I can't. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do that.
You just say thank you. That was a wonderful thing here at Google headquarters, and I prepared some pakoras made with love and devotion. Maybe you would like. Never did that.
Not yet, but I will.
Okay. Well, maybe you and me put our heads together, and I'll come in and I'll be your servant.
That is Raghunath's Pakora app is open right now.
Yeah, never too early in the day for a pakora app. I agree with
I'm with you. Thank you, Prabhu, so much. It was a great idea, closing the apps. And, thank you for joining us, and good luck with it. Yeah, I think you're blessed, and I think you're focused. And Harry Bo, thank you so much.
Thank you both so much. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you, Panditji.
Thank you.
All right.
So we are. Well, good morning to you, Mr. Kaustubha Das.
Good morning to you, Raghunath.
And we have to say that Kaustubha, myself, and Mara G, executive producer,
what?
we're going to Columbia.
Okay.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna make a plan. Who knows what the pandemic's plan is, but we have a plan. People are signing up.
We're gonna do our part.
We're going to do our part within our control of going to Colombia, to a tropical place at a cool ashram where there's tropical birds, fruits, fauna.
Beautiful horse. Really beautiful horse.
Oh, you never told me about the beautiful horse.
Oh, yeah. There's a
champion.
It's a champion, this horse. It's beautiful.
You get to ride it, or is it just meandering?
Yeah, if you want.
Come visit the meandering horse around the ashram. And there's going to be swimming and waterfalls. And we are going to be doing this stuff all day long. If you want to get away, come get away with us. And you know the amazing thing about
I thought you were about to go into another Kansas. Oh, no, that's Sticks.
That's Sticks. Thank you. And the cost, we charge the cost of the trip, which is $900.
Okay.
That's for room and board, etc. You pay for your flights. but they're cheap right now. So, but and then you give a donation to the teachers, and we're trying to do a donation base and see how it works. It might not work.
It'll
But
work.
what we're trying not to charge one of these expensive yoga retreats because we want to make it available for everybody.
Okay.
So if you're interested, go to raghunath.yoga, RAGHUNATH.yoga, and click on the Wisdom of the Sages retreat link, and then you can ask more questions to my assistant, or you can just sign up and register there. Thank you very much. And I'm going to Tucson this weekend. Did you know
That's
that?
this weekend. I had no idea.
It's
It's
this
coming
weekend.
up.
We got to figure out how we're doing Wisdom of the Sages.
We did it last time.
To see Damodar Swarup and Radha Priti. Yeah, we did it last time in Tucson. Isn't that amazing? That was this year.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, well, we are back. We even did Sweet Baby Krishna in Tucson last time. All right, so we're going to dive into the sweet honey nectar pot of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskritya. Started too high. Narayanam namaskritya.
Try it high.
Ram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya, bhagavati utamashloki bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the transcendent Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamurandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Madatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
I get to if you and I, if we knew each other when we were kids and we were in church together, you'd be like, if I was sitting next to you, it would be a problem.
I'd be singing loud, man.
No, I just mean because you'd be making me laugh all the time.
Oh.
Like the Tony the Tiger Irrevocable.
Started reading the Bible to my family yesterday.
Really? What part?
Do we still have who's the Christian priest guy who's on the show?
Thomas Harry Bowl?
Thomas Harry Bowl. I want to do a show with him.
We should bring him on a walk on
Patreon.
Wednesday.
Let's do him on a walk on Wednesday if he's still around.
Yeah.
Thomas Harry Bowl, write us. We are going to do a Christian show. I was reading Matthew to my family.
Book of Matthew.
The Book of Matthew. It's a good book. Good book.
They call it the good book.
But I feel like there's so many great parallels that after you read the Bhagavatam, it's like, oh, I get this. Yeah, mystical people, healing people, exorcising demons.
Oh, that's why you got into it. Okay, now I see. But you should see the Netflix. They got the Book of Matthew on Netflix. They got all the 4 books of the Gospels.
Oh, really? Okay, I will. I'm not good with Netflix. I end up falling asleep if I put it on, which I think is a blessing. All right. My glasses, Mara. I brought 2 sets of glasses today.
I got you.
All right.
The executive producer jumping into action.
She's on it. Look, Mara keeps notes. I never knew that. Isn't that interesting? Good for you, Mara. Mara, while she finds my glasses, can you start the verse? Kaustubha, I can't see right now.
You want me to read the verse?
Yeah, read the verse if you don't mind.
Okay. So we are reading from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, and we are somewhere around
39.
39, text 39. So Narada is continuing to, Brahma is continuing to speak to his son, Narada, and he's wrapping up. As a matter of fact, I think with this verse, it kind of wraps up the count of the different avatars that are being mentioned. The one will kind of be mentioned in the next verse, but this is kind of wrapping it up. So you just highlighted my video and I can't read the verse now. No problem. Now I can. So it says, at the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then, during the maintenance of creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods, and with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there's Adharma, and then Lord Shiva and the atheist full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's the guna avatars are being mentioned here, right?
Yeah. The fantastic Vedic creation story. I like
Well,
it.
this is not just the creation. This is the creation, the maintenance, as well as the destruction. This is the
Yeah.
whole cycle. Okay. Do you want to read or shall I continue?
Yeah. Are we doing purport or are we doing another verse?
Let's do another verse.
Okay. Text 40. Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? Even a scientist who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe. I wonder what the Sanskrit for that is. I'm sure they didn't say atoms.
Want me to look it up?
Yeah, look that up while I read. Cannot even a scientist who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is he only who, in his form of Trivikram, moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyaloka, up to the neutral state of the three gunas of material nature, and all were moved. So that's that story of Vamanadev, the avatar Vishnu, the dwarf who stepped up and poked his toe through the material universe. And
Beautiful monk dwarf.
beautiful monk dwarf.
So the word used for atom here is partivani, which sometimes Prabhupada translates as the atoms, sometimes as of the element earth, sometimes as on the earth. So it's got, yeah, it's
Okay. It's interesting. It's like people scholars, especially in India, who study the Vedas, and sometimes they're like these geniuses, they're scientists, but they hear these stories. Lord Vamanadev stepped and poked his toe into the material universe. They're like, "Yep, that totally happened." They're like, "No," and it's not due to some like rigid fundamentalism. It's sort of like a deep spiritual realization that, of course, why can't that happen? It's like woven into the philosophy itself that we ourselves are tiny beings and fantastic things are maybe beyond our understanding.
mhm. Well, and you know what is what enters into the realm of our understanding and what is beyond our understanding is kind of the theme that comes out in the verses that we'll read today. It's saying here, who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu, right? Now, even the scientists, and this isn't saying just like a qualified scientist, but what if you had a scientist who could count the particles, every particle of atoms in the universe? What if you had a scientist on that level? Would they be able to completely describe the prowess of Lord Vishnu? Saying no, that the prowess of Lord Vishnu by mentioning Trivikram, he could have mentioned any avatar, but specifically, Trivikram or Vamanadev, same avatar. He penetrates the covering of the universe. That's the idea, right? He extends beyond the universe. So it's kind of a poetic way of saying, even if you could understand this entire universe, which nobody can, he extends beyond the universe. So no one can understand him.
And we're looking in the wrong places. We're trying to figure out the material world. And
Mhm.
you can get lost in it. You can get lost in the study of soil.
Soil, okay.
Whatever people study. You can study soil, you can study worms, you can study dolphins, you can study maple trees. You can get lost in it. You can spend your whole life and you can miss, right? You can miss on the subtle thread holding all this stuff together. That's Lord Vishnu. As pearls are strung on a thread. That's what Krishna says in the Gita.
Okay.
Time to roll out that verse out for everybody.
As pearls are strung on a thread.
Yeah.
What is it? Mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya.
There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. You look at a pearl necklace, they're almost like floating there very beautifully, these very beautiful things.
Mhm.
But it's that subtle thread that holds all that beauty together.
It's a subtle thread. I like
You take
that.
notes too. Am I the only one who doesn't take notes in this world?
Well, so in other words, even what you can perceive through the senses, when I look at the pearl necklace, my senses can perceive the pearl. They can't perceive the necklace, or the string, the thread that's that's tying it all together. And how do we come to know that which is beyond our senses? Here he's saying, even a scientist, if they could count every atom in the universe, they still can't know Krishna, who's behind it all. And now he's going to go on to, now Brahma will go on to explain that even he and others can't understand him. It's text 41.
Neither I, nor all the sages before you, know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So what can others who are born after us know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha. So Shesha is the multi-hooded naga or snake, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he is describing the qualities of the Lord with 1,000 faces.
Mm. So it's saying that even the great sages cannot fully understand. But how can one understand? If this is something that even beyond the science, the scientists who could count every atom can understand, then how does one understand? And that is text 42.
This is it. It's all going to be revealed right here. Everything we've been waiting for months. But anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to this body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by dogs and jackals, is it?
Yes, that's what happens.
I know. Cannot do so. Cannot do so. So, so this is it right here. I'm going to read that again because it's important. Anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion. It's really an ocean, isn't it, of illusion that we're in? And can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to this body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by dogs and jackals, cannot do so. It's one of these things. If you see a body, if you've ever had that opportunity to see a dead body of a human, it's such a shocking thing. When that spirit soul dies, it immediately starts to sort of like sink and get sunken and deteriorate. Nowadays we put formaldehyde and all these toxic things on the body to preserve it for a few days so we could have a ceremony. In India, they wrap it up, take it right to the river and burn the body. And to see a body burn and you start to realize, that's me. That body is me. That's going to be me. That's what they're going to be doing to me. You get such deep realizations of who we are and who we are not. And in the verse it says, eaten by dogs and jackals and vulture. I mean, we live on a farm, so when an animal dies, we bring it out to the woods. That animal is like gone in 3 days. We had a sheep die, brought it to the woods, picked apart by every animal, feeding the earth. That's our future. This body that I'm combing my hair, I'm shampooing. What else do I do to my body? I don't shampoo and I don't comb it either.
Sometimes you wonder what you do.
Shave. I look in the mirror, look how beautiful I am. Look, I got to work on this, got to work on those. Whatever it is, that I'm investing so much in this thing that's going to be left for a vulture to pick at. Come on. And I neglect, the point here is I neglect the spirit. I neglect my mind who's supposed to be dedicated to the Supreme Lord. That's the way in. The way in is through that devotional love. And in that devotional love, it's got not to do with the intelligence. There was intelligent people who were who will never figure it out because their intelligence is directed in the wrong way. It's like there's cars that go very fast, but they're going to lose the race if they're driving in the wrong direction. So it's got nothing to do with it's not nothing to do with what we got. It's what you do with what you got. Some people got a lot of stuff, but they're doing some bad things with it. So if you do have, or if you don't have, either way, we were saying this on Sweet Baby Krishna last night. I've met great souls who were geniuses, and I've met great souls who were like dumb as stone. But it's got nothing to do with their intellect. Or I've met great souls who are incredibly wealthy and great souls who are broke. It's got nothing to do with their economic status. It's got to do with where their heart's at. And from there, even the guy dumb as stone, very, 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 very deep, very, very wise. You don't have to have material intelligence. You have spiritual intelligence or wisdom. And that's impressive. And that's what we're looking for. You know, what do you think about that? Mara?
I think your app just sucks your energy away right there. Because there are too many open apps. And then you just yeah, so it's mentioning here, okay, so there are those on one hand, it's saying here, they're attached to the body, and that body is just going to be eaten by dogs and jackals, in the end. They don't, the topic is here is who can understand God and the role that God plays, let's say, in our life. And it's saying that when you're too attached to the body, you don't understand. All right, you have a different goal in life, but then it mentions the qualification for one who does understand, and it says, due to unalloyed surrender. All right, unalloyed surrender. That sounds a little scary. All right, surrender.
Surrender sounds scary. It depends who the captor is.
Okay, true. It's in the Sanskrit. It says sarvatmana.
Sweet surrender. Right? It can be a sweet surrender too.
Well, okay, well, we can get. I don't even know
what is that song.
I have no idea. I don't want to know.
Just make that up. Sweet surrender.
I don't want to know that song.
Sweet surrender. I never knew
You
the
work
lyrics
on them.
of those
You work.
songs. All right.
So it says sarvatmana, by all means, without reservation, like sarva atmana, with my entire soul, right? One has to sarvatmana, ashrita pada, the surrendered soul. So it says that when one surrenders their entire self, then one can understand. But yeah.
Well, I wanted to point out this point that Prabhupada makes again and again too. You and I are talking about, like, okay, material scientists, they're completely out of it. They're just trying to find reality through the material world. We're saying there's something more deeper. But there's also that beautiful verse that it's actually Brahma who makes that point. Vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto. That is very difficult to understand, Govinda, through studying the Vedas. But it seems like, wait a second, I'm studying the Vedas. I should be able to understand God. These are like sacred texts. They're spiritual texts. But it's like, come on. Haven't you ever met a so-called spiritual person that is like the least spiritual person you'd ever met? It's like, you're the spiritual guy? Come on. Matter of fact, a lot of times in our life, it's the so-called spiritual people that have turned us off from spirituality. They're representing spirituality. They can quote the quotes. They can present the verse. But it's like, no. You're the reason why I'm not into this. So it's got nothing to do necessarily with just being a learned pundit of any tradition, a theologian. It's sometimes those theologians that have soured us to our spiritual life. But our real metric for a person in their spiritual life is their connection with divinity and how that manifests in the way they treat other people in their life. How the way they treated you in your life. Those are the things that I can speak for myself have changed me. The way a person of a spiritual caliber, even though they were either known for being a spiritual person or just being, the way they treated me and touched my heart and which in turn directed me towards spirit. And that's a big thing. And again, you'll hear this. It's got nothing to do with your scholarly attempts at Vedic literature, your incredible, impeccable Sanskrit pronunciation, right? I mean, and if you're into yoga, a lot of us are into yoga, asanas. we know that if there's a teacher coming in the room and they can name the various muscle groups and give great instructions on anatomy and instruct you how to say the name right in Sanskrit, it means nothing unless you feel this person actually cares about me. Because sometimes you can get into those places you feel like this person's just trying to control me. This person's just trying to own me. This person's just trying to show off. And deep down, we get like repulsed. So in bhakti, again and again, the current that is pushing us through this and pushing us across this great ocean, that's the current of love. And that is the real metric, how I'm treating the people in my life on a regular basis. And is there real sense? I'm not saying it always comes off very sweetly, but sometimes, but the recipient feels this person deeply cares about me. This person has no material agenda with me. They don't want anything from me. They just care. And I think that is a great way. That is a great way for Krishna to sort of blossom in your life. Not just through, we feel like, well, I'm just going to study this. I'm going to take a course in this. We like courses. We feel like, yeah, now I have a course under my belt and I can put that on my wall, that little diploma. Now, what do you think about that, Kaustubha?
Okay.
Come on.
Why don't we read a little of the commentary to that verse of the Brahma Samhita?
Of the Brahma Samhita?
Yeah.
You have it open?
I do.
Read it.
This is Brahma Samhita 533, which Sanskrit is Advaitam Achutam Anadam Anantarupam Madhyamparana Purusham Navayovanam Cha.
Everybody should learn this verse.
Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktau Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Vajami. Love these verses, right?
Advaitam, he's one without a second. Achutam, he's inconceivable. Ananta Rupam, his form is unlimited. Advaitam Achutam Anadim, he's the original being. Adyat, I like this one. Advaitam Achutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana. He is very old. He's like, so you think, okay, this is the oldest guy in the universe. He must look horrible. No.
He must look horrible.
Right? I mean, look, I'm going to meet you. This guy is really old, right? Can't walk, hunched over, missing a couple teeth, hair's coming out, big ears have grown. No. He is Navayovanam. He's the oldest, but he's like a darling little boy, a beautiful little child. Adyam Purana. Vedeshu Durlabam. You study the Vedas, you want to know him? Durlabam, very difficult. But Adurlabam, through Atma Bhakti, through the devotion of the Atma.
Taking it down. Yeah, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul. Same theme here, same point, right? Who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless. Who is the
weird
beginning?
Thing to think of? We are subject to decay. Mara's sitting next to me right now, decaying. Tooth just comes out.
Whose form is endless, who is the beginning, and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. Now I'm just going to read part of the comment. Oh man, I had it saved and now it's gone. Okay. The limited intellectual function.
You found it?
Well, at least let's start here.
You look, and I can talk about how I looked in the mirror today.
Okay, go ahead.
Up and I was like, I am decaying. That's exactly what I thought. It's like, I am actually decaying like today. Like today, everything's gone. And every day is like this attempt to put it together. Come on, slap it. Maybe it'll look better if you slap it. You ever do that? It's just like, come on, get some color in these cheeks.
Are you ready? Close some of those apps and let's.
Okay, I'm ready. What do you got for me? I'm buying time for you, Kaustubha, talking about my decay.
You're buying more time.
Buy more time than you need. Okay.
Yeah. So this verse is talking about these apparently contradictory qualities that God has. How can the jiva, how can the soul realize such unprecedented existence? The limited intellectual function of the soul is always contaminated by the influence of time and space, and is therefore not in a position to shake off this limitedness. Okay. If the potency of cognitive function of our ability to understand does not extend to the realization of the transcendental, what else can? In reply, Brahma says that the transcendental absolute is beyond the reach of the Vedas. The Vedas originate in sound, and sound originates in mundane ether. So the Vedas cannot present before us a direct view of the transcendental world of Goloka. It is only when the Vedas are imbued with the chit potency that they're enabled to deal with the transcendental. Now, the chit potency means it's one of God's potencies that reveals knowledge, or the knowledge-giving potency. So it is only when the Vedas are imbued with the chit potency that they're able to deal with the transcendental. But Goloka reveals itself, in others, the spiritual realm, reveals itself to every soul when they are surrendered under the influence of the spiritual cognitive potency, joined with the essence of the ecstatic energy. Another potency, the Hladini Shakti, or the Shakti for giving pleasure for service. So when these two energies, the knowledge and the pleasure-giving potency, when one is blessed with them, then one can understand everything, right? The ecstatic function of devotion is boundless. It means that potency is boundless.
I need a purport for this purport.
I'm trying. And the ecstatic function of devotion is boundless, and it is surcharged with unalloyed transcendental knowledge. That knowledge reveals Goloka Tattva, the principle of the highest transcendental, in unison with devotion, without asserting itself separately, but as a subsidiary, but as a subsidiary to unalloyed devotion. So in other words, when we entirely want to serve, when we've, here in the verse that we read today, it mentioned being attached to the body, right? Being attached to the material body. And that means that I have senses, the senses have demands. I've made it my life goal to satisfy the demands of the senses.
The whims of my mind.
Yeah, so as long as that's our strategy, that's our plan, that's our goal, that's what we're working towards, we're choosing to enter into that illusory state of understanding. But when one says, that's not what I'm interested in, actually, I'm interested in reconnecting with that divine source of mine. And I'm interested in doing it with love. And when one serves with love, when one approaches with love, when you actually feel love towards someone, their happiness becomes your happiness. And so naturally you serve them because you want them to be happy, because that's where your true completeness is being felt. Particularly in this is relevant in terms of our relationship with the divine. And when we have that attitude, it's this attitude, right? It's not so much the academic qualification, the brain power, the length of study. It's the attitude. When that attitude is there, and we can call that surrender. Now, this word surrender, it can carry negative connotations. Sometimes it's seen as, like I've been defeated.
Hey, what's a better? We got to retranslate that word.
Well,
the word is not surrender. That's our translation of it. But what would be a better way to surrender?
One way to think of surrender.
Give your heart to.
What's that?
Give your heart to.
Yeah, you could say it that way. One way, I like that. One way is like to let go, right? Like when you finally let go.
Let go, let God.
You could say let go, let God. Yeah.
Let go, let God tattoo. Hat.
That's another subject, whether one wants to tattoo it or wear a hat that says it. But yeah, letting, in other words, letting go of that strategy that I'm going to find my happiness through the struggle of trying to satisfy my senses. Let go of it. That's a surrender. But I also like your point, because often the term surrender is used
in a hostage situation.
No, in a situation like in terms of romance, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like one person is trying to win the heart of the other, and then one person surrenders, right? That's sometimes it's probably in your sweet surrender song, I'd imagine. That's what what's
While you're
going on.
talking, I'm trying to conjure up that song.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Keep going.
so if one says, you know what, enough of the strategy, I'm going to let go of the strategy that happiness is found through trying to satisfy the material senses. I've applied that strategy. It has not is yet to succeed. The wisdom of these ancient texts is clarifying this for me. I'm placing my faith in them, and now I will surrender. I'll take my heart,
I
and
got the
rather than
song.
I know you do,
I got it. Just got it.
and now that I'm trying to let go of that strategy and surrender my heart, like to hand it over to then that is a beautiful type of surrender. And it's that attitude, which is saying it's and that attitude and only that attitude where real spiritual knowledge becomes revealed to one. And one is blessed with these potencies, this knowledge potency and the pleasure giving potency. When I want to serve and please the divine, I'm blessed with the potency to do that. And that potency is unlimited. And therefore, with that potency, you can understand the unlimited.
Yes. Are you ready?
Okay, so that's Raghunath saying, I waited
slingshot is
to
pulled
sing the
back
stupid
right now,
song.
and I'm ready to launch this song right at you. And everyone's correcting me on the message board. It was Sweet Emotion. That's what I was swinging. But the song I was actually thinking about deeper was that, and you got to be north of 50 to get this song. Late December back in 63.
Oh.
What a very special time for me. And I'll remember what a night. Oh, I got a funny, you know what I'm talking about? Oh, what
Yeah,
a
that was
night.
Frankie Valli in the
We
Four Seasons.
surrender, what a night. That's a creepy song, truthfully. I didn't even know her name. It's like a completely adharmic song.
Let it go,
Unless it was an arranged marriage.
Okay, I'm going to go now. This was the show where Raghunath finally lost it. Completely fell apart.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just keep on having flashbacks of that show, Meet the Patels. And the guy was like, "Oh, when did you meet Mom?" And they was like, 2 days before we were married. It was dharmic or adharmic, that song. We can't figure it out. But let's continue on, because this is a Srimad-Bhagavatam class, and this is the first time that song has ever been quoted in the history of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. That being said, Kaustubha, we got to mention Sunday's guests. If you like Bhakti Yoga, and if you want to get to the core of Bhakti Yoga, do not miss this Sunday's guest. She's hard to track down, but I've tracked her down wandering the forest of Vrindavan. Lalita Vilasini, my teacher, my friend.
Leela Vilasini.
Yeah, she's so wonderful. And she is going to be on the show live from Vrindavan. And she just is a treasure trove of valuable Krishna Bhakti stories. She knows so many stories about Krishna because she speaks so many languages and the local languages of the village, Braj Bas, where she goes into these temples and picks the brains of these priests. And she is just she's one of the few people that when I'm around, I just shut up and I just listen.
Bob Healy says on the message board that she's the female version of you.
That's an insult, Bob, but thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. It's an insult to her, but she's quite wonderful. But she's Sunday. We're going to track her down in Vrindavan, wandering. Okay.
Hope we get a good internet connection.
I know. It's always a little tough. We had her last
year. The
year.
Commentary to this verse, then. Is that what you want to do? Or is there something else you wanted to say?
I don't know. We have 5 minutes left, right? Did we didn't finish that commentary, did we? Oh, you read the commentary to Advaitam Achyutam.
Yeah, I read that, but we haven't read the commentary to this verse, to the verse that we just read today, 2:742.
Okay, I'll jump in there. The unalloyed devotees of the Lord know the glories of the Lord in the sense that they can understand how great the Lord is and how great is his expansion of diverse energy. Those who are attached to the perishable body can hardly enter into the realm of the science of Godhead. The whole materialistic world, based on the conception of the material body as the self, is ignorant of the science of God. The materialist is always busy working for the welfare of the material body. It's true. Not only his own, but those of his children. It's true. His kinsmen. It's true. Community men, countrymen, etc. The materialists have many branches of philanthropic and altruistic activities from a political, national, and international angle of vision, but none of the field work can go beyond the jurisdiction of the misconception of identifying the material body with the spirit soul. Unless, therefore, one is saved from the wrong conception of the body and the soul, there is no knowledge of Godhead. And unless there is no knowledge of Godhead, all advancement of material civilization, however dazzling, should be considered a failure. It's pretty good, isn't it?
It's like they use that analogy, like you got the ladder up, you climbed to the top of the ladder, but you had it up against the wrong wall.
Leaning again. I worked so hard. I took out loans. I climbed to the top of material success. I've pushed people out of the way to get there. I finally got it. I'm at the top of that ladder, the ladder of success, only to realize that ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. How many people have you met like that? I meet people like that all the time, especially on pilgrimage, because people, they go to India and they're like, what am I doing with my life? That's that sort of, sometimes a midlife crisis. You go, I've done it. I've got all the accoutrements of success, but there's a deep, gaping hole in my heart that I've never put anything into that. And oftentimes it's like, and I'm in debt, $200,000. Or sometimes people get that epiphany, like Pandit did, our walk on Wednesday. You know, at a young age, you're like, I got to give my life to spirit, to God. Or sometimes in our old age, we go, what have I done with my life? You know, you're 60, 70, 80. What am I doing with my life? You get that epiphany. So yeah, and you're left to be with all the accoutrements of success, but feeling like, ugh. And then you got to do the very difficult, but sometimes deeply pleasurable work of climbing down that ladder. You know what? Goodbye. Walk away from those things that had to do with the success of the body sometimes, just so you can get a better vantage point of, I want to go there. I want to put the ladder against that wall. That's where I want to go. And then we start to walk up that sweet ladder. And that's that ladder of Bhakti-yogi. And you can do it any time in your life. That's the good news. Whatever your past is, that past is gone. Anytime you want to get serious about our spiritual life, we just have to, I'm sure, Kaustubha, you've probably seen people at all phases of life just say, you know what? That's over. That part of my life is dead. Like our old friend.
Who would that be?
Parampara.
Parampara.
When me and Kaustubha were young, there was like this old man from like Canarsie, Brooklyn.
Canarsie, yeah.
And he was like, and he was 80, and he was like an old man, but he was like completely focused on his spiritual life. But he got into it late in life, 80 years old.
He was an old tailor, old Italian tailor from Canarsie, Brooklyn, right?
Yeah. And you see that sometimes you get, and the real thing is when you get that calling, you got to answer the calling. Don't let the phone ring and don't pick up. Pick up the phone and say hello. And then when Krishna says, I'm calling you, you got to follow Krishna. So some people are getting that call today. I'll be calling you. No, some people are getting that calling today. Hey, time to surrender to Krishna more. Time to give your heart a little deeper. Answer the calling. It's the calling you won't regret.
Okay.
I'm sort of on a pulpit today. I didn't mean it like that. Hope it didn't come off that way. Well, this is a good note to go to move my thumb up and down, Kaustubha.
Move your thumb up and down.
Like that.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Kaustubha, Mara, thank you. Thanks for all the Zoomies. We had way over 108 today. They just came in the door late. We had like 121, I think, at one point. And but the most of the people are the others. They're those people out there. Hey, others, I got a spiritual mission for everybody out there who hasn't done this yet. Go on to Apple Podcasts and write a review and tell us your story, how you got here. If you got a Krishna miracle, you can tell us your Krishna miracle. has something magical, spiritual has happened in your life lately, and you can share that with us. But do that on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the podcast. That's one way you can contribute. Or this is a community-sponsored podcast. So you go to patreon.com. That's where all our members go. They go there and they give a monthly pledge to keep us going, because this has become a full-time job. And you know what? We're grateful and we're happy for it. And once you do that, you're opened up to all our classes, all our workshops. And today's workshops consist of this, Mara.
We have Stacy Cabrera at 6:30 a.m. teaching a gentle yoga class.
Cabrera the Snuggler.
Yep.
Snuggle,
and
baby.
Bhakti Recovery Group meeting also today.
Bhakti Recovery Group. The incredible Bhakti Recovery Group led by Nancy and Jiva and Ed. So this is a great way if you're dealing with some type of, and people dealing with some substance abuse, or they're trying to let go of things they're attached to that they know are not serving them. Come to these 12-step meetings. They're very powerful. They work hand in hand with the Bhakti culture, but we just give that higher power a name and a form. And the form is quite adorable. And also, if you're a Patreon member, you can join me and Mara as we host the Sweet Baby Krishna class Tuesday and Thursday evening, 8 o'clock for the rest of this month. We're going to do it. Sri Radhe. If you're in the Tucson area, please come visit. I'm also going to Nashville and Louisville the following weekend. And then December 4th and 5th, I'm going to be in Pittsburgh and Beaver, Pennsylvania, but Beaver sold out. So Pittsburgh, we're doing an all-day Bhakti thing. Woo!